What we're going to do today is we're going to make a pea and ham risotto. So ingredients wise, I've got about 500 millilitres of chicken stock here. That was made using a little stock pot. You can use vegetable stock if you like. I've got some butter. I have a shallot, or it can be a small onion. We'll chop that in a minute. A little bit of olive oil. This is for one person, 1 to 2 people. So I've got 100 grams of arborio rice, which is risotto rice. So don't use long grain rice or basmati rice or bomba rice or anything. This is the specific risotto rice. A handful of peas that I've thawed out. A slice of ham from the deli counter at the supermarket that I've just cut into slices. A tablespoon of grated Italian cheese, so Parmesan or something similar. I have a little block of a hard Italian cheese. Equipment wise, I'm using a shallow frying pan, but you can use a small saucepan if you like. Knife for the shallot. I've got a ladle for the stock, wooden spoon, something to serve with, and vegetable peeler, which can do some little grates of cheese, and a couple of spoons because I'm going to want to taste as we go along. Okay, to start with, we're going to chop the shallot. I peeled this earlier, and what I did, I chopped off the top and I chopped off the root end. So knife, chopping board, we're going to go just from top to bottom. Then I'm very simply going to hold it together, chop, chop, chop. Again, putting your fingers so you don't chop them off, and you can use it as a guide. So I'm going to simply use the knife, push and chop. Don't just push down, but actually move the knife through. I've got that one, and again, we'll go from the root end, goes to the top there. 1, 2, holding together, got 3. Turn it slightly, again fingers, slicing through. We have a nicely chopped shallot. Okay, so the next stage, we are then going to just cook that off in a little bit of oil and a little bit of butter. So I'm just heating the pan a little bit before I start, and I will put in the butter. What I don't want to do is get that burning and going brown. So to try and help with that, I'm going to put in just a little bit, tablespoon or so of oil. I'm using olive oil, but it can be vegetable oil or anything you like. So we'll just let that melt for a second or two. Pop the heat up by 1. Okay, that's beginning to bubble nicely. So I'm just going to put in my shallots. What I want those to do is, in a minute they'll cook a bit faster, is just to cook down for probably 4 or 5 minutes on a lowish heat until they go translucent and see-through, but without burning them. We've had about 3 minutes now and they're just beginning to soften, so I'm just going to give them another minute. What I'm using as well, I've got a non-stick pan here, and I do try and use things like a wooden spoon or a silicone spoon or something like that, just so you don't scratch it and scratch off the non-stickness within the pan. So that's done enough for me. That's nice and soft now. I can just feel as we go through, they're not hard and crunchy anymore. And now I'm going to add all of my rice in here. And what's important is we give it a bit of a stir. We try and coat each of the grains with a little bit of the oil and butter. And what should happen is they'll begin, like the shallot, to go slightly translucent. And when you watch those of cooking programs, you see they show you a grain of rice with a little crack in it. Well, yeah, I haven't seen a crack yet, but I believe it does happen. It's just a couple of minutes to coat them. Basically what you're trying to do, you're just trying to infuse some flavour in there and just give them a little head start before we start adding the stock. Okay, so this has been just going for a minute or so. I can see from here, you won't be able to see probably from the camera, but some of the grains, just a little translucency or see-throughness at the end. Now we start adding the stock, but we only add a bit at a time. What I didn't say earlier was that you need to make sure the stock is warm or hot. Okay, what you don't want to start doing is having to start re-cooking the rice by adding cold stock in there. So, to start with, I'm just going to add 1 ladleful. Let's start to bubble. And give it a good stir. Just going to turn the heat down just a little bit. That's what we're going to do over the next 15 minutes, hopefully maximum, is keep repeating the process, just adding a little stock, letting it cook down. This, I'm afraid, is a recipe that you can't really just turn your back on and go. So that's becoming thicker as the rice absorbs the stock and as it also evaporates off a little bit. So I'm going to put another tablespoon, another ladleful in now. And again, I'll keep stirring. We've got another ladleful going in. It may be that you need all of the stock, or it may be that you don't need all of the stock. I always just try and do a little bit extra, just in case. Ladlefuls of the stock now. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a grain of rice. Let's give it a little test. Getting there, a bit of softness on the outside, still got a bit of crunch in the middle. So I probably will need a couple more ladlefuls. Just keep cooking it down. As you can see, it is thickening. Okay, so now we're coming probably towards the end. I can see that the mix is a lot thicker now. The rice grains are nice and plump and looking good. When you stir them, they certainly look nearly ready. So another quick taste test. A fresh spoon. Yep, that's pretty much ready. What I've not done is I've not added any salt. There is enough salt that's in the stock already, so I don't feel I need to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let this last bit of stock evaporate off and soak into those rice grains. It shouldn't take very long. Okay, I can see the rice now at the top with only a little bit of the stock actually there. As I pull the spoon through, creates a nice little gap and takes a second or so before any liquid comes back in there. So next I'm going to pop in my peas just to warm them through. I shall pop in my ham, just leave a couple of bits, pop on top in a bit. I'm going to give it a little stir. Stir them in just to heat them through correctly. A little grind of black pepper. Let's pop some more on later. And finally, I'm now going to stir in my tablespoon of grated Italian cheese, finely grated Italian cheese, so Parmesan. And it creates a nice creamy texture. Some people then add a little lump of butter to the top to make it even creamier, but let's stay relatively healthy. There's quite a lot of cheese in this. That is pretty much done. Now let's go and serve it. A couple of spoons. As I said, it'll do a good one, maybe two. A little bit of ham on top. And then I'm just going to take a grater, a peeler, just do a couple of little shavings of Parmesan on top. And there we have one pea and ham risotto.